Sensory receptors are modified neurons that are able to take the stimulus energy and convert that stimulus energy into an electrical impulse, an action potential. And then that action potential is sent into the central nervous system where it can consciously be perceived. So sensory receptors are modified neurons. They're part of the peripheral nervous system that can detect the stimuli, and we'll talk about the different types of stimuli in a minute, and convert the energy of the stimulus into an action potential. That process of converting that stimulus energy into an action potential is called transduction. So oftentimes we categorize sensory receptors based upon the types of stimuli they can absorb. So we can categorize these sensory receptors. The first type of sensory receptor could be mechanoreceptors. So they detect mechanical energy. So for example, touch, pressure, hearing is also a type of mechanical pressure or mechanical energy. So touch, pressure, hearing. Also, stretch would be another example of mechanical energy. We also have chemoreceptors. These detect chemical energy. So, for example, smell and taste, but actually also pain. So pain, when we have pain, there's a special type of receptor associated with pain, but pain is where we have chemicals released by damaged tissue, and that those chemicals bind to those pain receptors and give us this sensation of pain. We also have a type of receptor that is a photoreceptor. So it can absorb light energy. And so we have in our eyes rods and cones that detect that light energy. Those are specialized types of photoreceptors. We also have thermoreceptors that are able to detect changes in temperature. And what temperature is molecular movement. So these detect changes in temperature. Now we're going to talk about how some receptors are prone to adaptation, which means over a period of time they'll stop responding to a particular stimuli. And thermoreceptors are one of those that, like, if you have your finger in a warm water or even in cool water, over time you're going to stop perceiving that temperature because your thermoreceptors are going to adapt. Same thing with the olfactory receptors. You probably have experienced this where you walk into some place and you smell the smell, and as you sit there, you stop smelling it. It's not that the odor molecules have gone away, but the sensory receptors have stopped responding to it. So let's write that down. So some receptors are capable of adaptation. And this means that they stop responding or producing an action potential to stimuli that is consistent. So it's present there and we stop responding to it. So like temperature and smell would be examples of those that undergo adaptation. One that doesn't tend to go and undergo adaptation would be pain. So our pain receptors tend to not undergo adaptation. So these are just some examples of specialized receptors that respond to different stimuli and can transduce that stimuli into an action potential where it's then sent into our cerebral cortex where we can perceive the stimulus, consciously perceive the stimulus.